Hello? This is my audience. Hello, my name is Jaden Beltran. I am here to present a speech from Steve Jobs, his 2005 Stanford commencement speech. I dropped out of Reed College after the first 6 months, but then stayed around as a drop-in for another 18 months or so before I really quit. So why did I drop out? It started before I was born. My biological mother was a young, unwed college graduate student, and she decided to put me up for adoption. She felt very strongly that I should be adopted by college graduates, so everything was all set for me to be adopted by birth by a lawyer and his wife. Except when I popped out, they decided at the last minute that they really wanted a girl. So my parents, who were on a waiting list, got a call in the middle of the night asking, "We have an unexpected baby boy. Do you want him?" They said, "Of course." My biological mother later found out that my mother had never graduated from college and that my father had never graduated from high school. She refused to sign the final adoption papers. She only relented a few months later when my parents promised that I would someday go to college. And 17 years later, I did go to college, but I naively chose a college that was almost as expensive as Stanford, and all of my working class parents' savings were being spent on my college tuition. After 6 months, I couldn't see the value in it. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life and how college was going to help me figure it out. And here I was spending all the money my parents had saved their entire life. So I decided to drop out and trust that it would all work out okay. It was pretty scary at the time, but I was looking back. It was one of the best decisions I ever made. The minute I dropped out, I could stop taking the required classes that didn't interest me and began dropping in on the ones that did look interesting. It wasn't all romantic. I didn't have a dorm room, so I slept on the floor in friends' rooms. I returned Coke bottles for the 5 cents deposits to buy food with, and I would walk the 7 miles across town every Sunday night to get one good meal a week at the Hare Krishna Temple. I loved it. And much of what I stumbled into by following my curiosity and intuition turned out to be priceless later on. Let me give you one example. Reed College at the time offered perhaps the best calligraphy instruction in the country. Throughout the campus, every poster, every label on every drawer was beautifully hand calligraphed. Because I had dropped out and didn't have to take the normal classes, I decided to take a calligraphy class to learn how to do this. I learned about serif and sans serif typefaces, about varying the amount of space between different letter combinations, about what makes great typography great. It was beautiful, historical, artistically subtle in a way that science can't capture, and I found it fascinating. None of this had even a hope of any practical application in my life. But 10 years later, when we were designing the first Macintosh computer, it all came back to me. And we designed it all into the Mac. It was the first computer with beautiful typography. If I had never dropped in on that single course in college, the Mac would have never had multiple typefaces or proportionally spaced fonts. And since Windows just copied the Mac, it's likely that no personal computer would have them. You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something. Your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. This approach has never let me down, and it has made all the difference in my life. So when thinking about this, his speech, the first thing that comes to my mind is when he mentions connecting the dots. Steve Jobs dropped out, and in his perspective, it looks like everything has failed in a sense that you're supposed to graduate, you're supposed to have it all together, but he didn't see the value in burdening his parents with the expensive tuition on classes that he didn't even really care about. And it brings me that you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only look at them when they're connecting backwards. That's what he means by that. And we wouldn't have the great technology that we have today. And that leads to curiosity. When he mentions about calligraphy, calligraphy was a class that didn't really benefit him, but it was something he was interested in, and he wanted to take a chance on just doing something that he wanted. And it teaches us that curiosity is something that even if it's something that not necessarily benefiting at the moment, it still adds value in the future. We see that 10 years later when we see the Mac and when we see where Apple is today. And that leads to my last point, trusting the process. Tying this back to my life, as a pre-nursing student with a lot of journey, I don't know how it's all going to pan out. I'm not even sure. But all I can do is try my very best to trust that what I have is what I wanted to do. So that is what I learned from the Steve Jobs, and thank you for listening.